Hey guys, happy Friday. It is March 29th. Wow, it's time flies. So I hope everyone's doing really well. Today I thought we'd make a quick video on how to get a promotion. How do you make more money? How do you get to the next job title? So if you guys are new to this channel, I'm Ryan Crandall. I've been a tech recruiter for past 10 years, hiring manager. I've led a team of recruiters. I've also been in sales myself. So I've been an SDR and an AE. So we're gonna be talking a little bit about how to get a promotion, what do you do, and maybe some tips that can help you in that process, because I know that the AI, economy, inflation, crazy stuff's happening all the time. So yeah, making money is very important these days. So, as I get email notifications. So today, we're gonna talk about how can you get a promotion? What are some ways that you can do so, okay? So first, when you're doing your onboarding, when you start off in a new company, you want to make sure that there's some system set up for feedback. There's some feedback loop mechanism. This could be there's a weekly meeting, quarterly meeting, every 6 months, but some kind of performance review that you have with either your person who's above you, or ideally the CEO, the person who really is the decision maker, or as high up as you can get it. You want some kind of feedback loop. So, I've been in roles where there wasn't anything like that, it's nice at certain times, but it's really hard to pitch yourself for a promotion when they have no idea kind of your own successes or what your contributions are or how you're an asset. So you have to kind of make that very transparent and very well known of what you're bringing to the table. A lot of people, especially in when we work remote nowadays, it's very easy to be just, people want to be kind of like the gray man. They don't want to stand out too much. They like their salary. That's cool. You're going to have to want to stand out a little bit and showcase that you're bringing value more than your salary to the company. Okay. So that's number one. So make sure there's some kind of feedback mechanism going in your company, and ideally you set it up yourself. It's like, hey, every 3 months or every 6 months, I would like to have a sit down, have a one-on-one with you and talk about kind of hey, what we did right, what we did wrong, what can we work on, and kind of just plan that out. How does that sound? So you want to make sure you have that kind of feedback loop and mechanism, okay? So one of the things that you can do is you go on LinkedIn, and this is really easy if you're in a big company. Smaller company, I get it, might be a little bit harder, but if you're on a big company, you go to LinkedIn and you see in your company people, for example, sales. If you're in sales, who has been promoted within the company, okay? And you can kind of reverse engineer this. You can kind of go on, take an assessment of say you're a salesperson and you want to get to an account executive position. And you start looking at all the AEs, how many people were hired in versus how many people actually were promoted to that level within the company. Then you start making a little bit of assessment. How long were they in their previous role? What did they have to do? How long before they were promoted, okay? So this is very, very important. You basically need to construct some data. You need to find out who's been promoted in your company, what did they do, how long did it take? And it might be good to also do a bit of an informational interview. It's like, hey man, I'm trying to get to this level as well. Can I ask about what were your sales metrics back in the day? That's one way you can do it. Another thing is knowing the market data. So you need to know the market. A lot of people think, well, I know the market's this. Well, make sure it's the market within your industry, okay? So for example, in tech, and a lot of times, obviously the bigger the company, the more they dish out a higher compensation because they can afford to. Smaller company, they can't really afford to do this. So you wanna make sure that it makes sense. You need to know the market value of your role. You need to know what is the typical compensation plan, both base and commission, OTE, benefits, the whole package, okay? And you pretty much reverse engineer all this. You find out what the market is, what your company is, where you sit, okay? And basically you have to make that blueprint with the hiring manager or the CEO on hey, every 6 months I want this feedback mechanism, okay? You need to know what the goal is. You can't, a lot of people come into and they expect the CEO to just hey, you did a good job, I'm just gonna hand it to you. If you don't ask, you don't get. Simple as that. They're not gonna dish out additional, unless they're really nice, and very rarely that happens, but they're not just gonna give you money for the sake of it. You have to be a little bit assertive and ask for the promotion when it makes sense, okay? you're bringing in extra money, you're on a high. Hey, I think I deserve a raise for these reasons. You could do that. So before your next kind of interview, your next feedback interview with your team or your CEO, make sure to look at if there's any relevant skills. Now, if your company is hiring for the next job, you can look at that job description online and start making a note of all the skills. What are the responsibilities? What are the skills necessary? What is the years of experience? All the things that you do, and start acquiring those skills before your next kind of like, feedback interview. So that's really important to do, because that way you have a lot more like, why would they say no? It's like if you've done all the work and you already like you have the skill sets necessary, it'll be very easy for them to say yes. During the interview, you don't want to demand a promotion. Instead, I would ask kind of more like, hey, what can I do to earn the account executive spot? What can I do to earn kind of the next level in my career path? What can I do to earn another $10,000, right? What can I do to make my salary go up 10%? So there's multiple ways that you can ask, but you're not wanting to like demand it. It's more of an asking, hey, what can I do to get there, right? So for example, you've mapped out already, let's say you mapped out, okay, every 6 months I have or every quarter, I have a quarterly meeting with my CEO and we discuss all the things that are happening. Now, during this time, I've also mapped out that it takes about 6 months to get to this next level. And I've already mapped out that I'm gonna require these responsibilities and these skill sets to get there. And I also know in the market, this is the increase in pay that's typical. I also know within our company, like who else has made it there, and they also made it within this amount of time. So that's kind of what you're gearing up for. So then when you're in the actual interview, you say, hey, I've acquired these skills. This is what I'm shooting for. What can I do to earn it? Okay? It's really hard for them to say no if you're doing this, okay? So those are some recommendations that I would do that you're showcasing. And that way, the next time you meet with them, you show how much you've contributed, how much you've earned it, how much you've brought value to the company and become an asset yourself. So it's like, hey, they don't want to lose you. If you're bringing in either, you're making their lives a little bit easier, or you're bringing in more revenue, or you're doing the job better than everybody else on the team, it's hard for them to say no. But you have to have that plan outlined. Very, very significant. So I hope that helps. Little the tips of the day. Yeah, it's been a crazy time, but yeah, I'm excited. There's a lot of stuff happening in the markets right now. Strongly recommend that you start looking around in kind of your area on other types of business ventures or other types of career trajectories that you can get into. It's good to have like a plan A, like hey, if you're an SDR and you want to be an AE, plan A. But look at plan B too. And always be aware of kind of like what the market's going, what are the demands of the market, what are the needs in job titles and skill sets, not just now, but 2 or 3 years from now. That's kind of the sweet spot you want to be in. It's not like everybody kind of, like we get to the, people, when I started in cybersecurity, people were saying it's going to be like, it's going to be amazing. And now we're like 4 or 5 years later, and of course it's in high demand. So if you started getting in now, you'll be fine, but you'd be way better off if you started a few years ago, okay? So it's always good to like know exactly what's in demand in the market now, but be more aware of where it might be in demand 2 or 3 years from now. And that's kind of where you want to position yourself for the biggest growth, biggest also financial returns, and the best way that you can get promoted within a company, okay? So hope that helps. Hope everyone's doing well, and it's gonna be a good weekend. All right, cheers.